Hello and welcome to News Bharati. Today we have with us Dr. Ratan Sharda ji. He has written 9 books, out of which 7 are on RSS. We all know Ratan Sharda ji because of his articles, as I said, his books, his television appearance on various debates on various issues. So today Ratan Sharda ji will tell us about Sewa International. What is Sewa International? What are its origins? Today perhaps we have heard its name regarding Ukraine crisis and evacuation of Indian students. But what Seva International does beyond this particular crisis? So today Ratanji will tell us all about it, and we might learn something new about an organization which actually saves many people. So Ratanji, let's start with what is Seva International and what are its origins.
Namaste, friends, and hello, Apurva. Thanks for calling me for this very important topic because not many people know how Hindu society across the world is serving its own nation of choice, its own nation of adoption, and doing work everywhere in the world as per Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam principle. Yes, please. So you wanted to know about Seva International?
Yes. So what is Seva International? But before that, what are its origins? How it started?
Okay. Actually, way back in 1993, we would remember, especially in Maharashtra, there was a huge earthquake, famously known as Latur earthquake, because Latur was the most damaged city and area in this particular earthquake. The earthquake was so horrendous that news first came even to us from BBC. So people everywhere in the world knew about this earthquake and the disaster it has created and the damage it has done. This was also known to the Swayamsevaks of Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh in UK, and they felt so pained. They felt the sense of urgency to do something for the people in that area and for the people in general, that they immediately called up many people in India and asked how it can be done. So that is how organization was immediately formed called Seva International, and formalities completed and relief material started flowing in. So that was the first experiment with serving people in the disaster. And then slowly it took shape and slowly everything fell into place as more people joined in. So though it was started by Swayamsevaks of Hindu Swayamsevak Sangh in UK, now there are many members of the society who have connected with the Seva International, and they are ready to serve as and when asked for, and volunteering for various causes. And today there are 24 Seva International organizations across the world, which are locally registered, which follow the local laws of the land, and do whatever they do for the society where they live, and also for world over whatever they can do. So that in short is what I can say. I will also read out the vision and mission of Seva International, which I managed to get today, because I am not working in Seva International, so I had to get the information. So the vision of Seva International is a premier non-profit organization would live in a world of equality where everyone is happy, enjoys good health, has equal growth opportunities, and lives in balance with nature. In the event of any disaster, Seva will be called in and will be among the first to serve. Mission is Seva International serves humanity in distress, aids local communities, and promotes volunteerism. We engage our beneficiaries to be agents of change in development and strive to make progress broad-based. So that, in short, is what Seva International is all about. And this is the motto that inspires people everywhere in the world, wherever Seva is there, to do something for the society as and when need rises. And also it has got projects which are long-term projects for the societies wherever they work, and also in Bharat.
Right. So, as you rightly said, that the origins of this organization are in Maharashtra, and then now we know that it is a global organization.
Primarily began as a disaster relief agency, but slowly
Right.
its scope increased as the organization settled down and organized itself and got more people involved.
Right. Right. So
In
that's
fact,
exactly what I wanted to ask.
was done even before Seva International was born.
Hmm.
Kenya, which is the first Hindu organization in line with what RSS view, RSS inspiration is. There they are serving not just the Hindu society, but also the local natives of Kenya, Uganda, etc., providing them relief, teaching them various professional uh, skills, and helping them become self-reliant in economics, and also providing literacy.
Okay. Uh, so that's exactly actually what I wanted to ask. That how what is the journey of Sewa International from, as you said, disaster relief to now helping Indian students evacuate from Ukraine and places like that? And not just, I would like to add that not just Indian students, but whoever needs help to, I mean, in this particular crisis, to evacuate their nationals from Ukraine, Sewa International is helping. So how did this journey from disaster relief in Maharashtra to a global organization, how did that go?
As I said, there is not one organization. There are 24 organizations with the same name,
Okay.
working in different countries. They may be aligning with each other where required, working together where required. You talked of Ukraine now, for example. Sewa Europe was the one who initiated the work because they were closest, including its themselves, its volunteers in Ukraine itself. Then it was supported by Sewa International UK. Then Sewa International USA also got involved and immediately released some funds for relief. And when the last reports came, there are 300 volunteers working for this particular emergency situation, of which 100 were women from 25 countries. So it is a very good example of international cooperation, international working for the good of the humanity.
Right. So let's talk about particularly about this Ukraine evacuation. We
Yeah,
mostly,
talked about the journey.
yeah,
So the journey was that wherever, as they organize itself, Seva International also started creating Seva projects for the local people. I had gone to Houston about in December 2019, and just before the outbreak of COVID, and I saw a whole colony for the Mexicans and Hispanics who had lost their homes in the floods, the very unlikely floods in Houston area,
yeah,
and that township was set up for them with totally new houses with every facility, including interiors. I have photographs of the place with typically what is minimum for them. So it includes refrigerator, includes kitchenette, it includes AC and all those things. And very decent houses with good accommodation were created. And they were on a raised platform because to avoid the risk of floods again. That is just one example which I saw. Then there are such examples across the world, and there are examples of Seva International India, which is also doing a lot of work in the villages for literacy, for environment protection, and development in line with ecosystems and preserving ecology. For this, they have registered organization, they have a FCRA clearance, and they have volunteers here, and they are doing many projects in India also, for which various organizations of Seva in different countries have adopted some of the projects. Some are totally financed by the local contributions. So that is the work of Seva International India. And when you talk about the world, as I said, just give example of one of the Seva works in
Houston.
Houston. Many such programs are happening in different places. And before you talk of Ukraine,
Yeah.
we also talk about COVID,
Okay.
because COVID is a once in a lifetime, once in a yuga, once in an entire life cycle of 100 or more years, when such unexpected disasters happen.
Right.
At that time, Seva International, like any other Indian organization in India or outside, jumped into the work, and its work has been highly appreciated by various organizations in USA. They were able to raise funds from people, very unlikely people from MNCs, because they were trusted, because the delivery mechanism they set up, highly audited and very uh, tight controls they had on supply chain, that many people offered their own material to them to ship. They were also able to provide oxygenator, oxygen concentrators in USA. They worked in USA hospitals also, and they also worked across the world wherever need was required, including India. And they went through all the proper processes, and they were able to uh, procure high quality oxygen concentrators, various medicinal kits, and whatever was possible in that short time. It was done by the Sewa International, and the major Sewa USA itself was highly appreciated. In fact, UN also approached it to help them do the relief work. So it's a sterling example. And I don't have the figures right now. There is not much time to put together the figures, but it's a huge figure in terms of medical aid, in terms of every possible drug, etc., that could be found for the purpose, and also various other things like I talked about mask and PPE kits before they started manufacturing in India. So it has been a very, very fine example of disciplined approach to a disaster and providing a very targeted delivery to the required people, and that has been highly appreciated internationally now.
Yeah. Right. So that was about COVID, and before COVID, how Seva
Yeah.
International had its own journey towards what today its shape and form is.
Yeah.
So today, uh, before I ask you about the Ukraine question, the reason why I'm particularly asking about this is many times we see in international media that one name Red Cross organization is quite famous, and almost all of international media will talk about Red Cross International, but hardly ever Seva International and organizations like that get any mention. So if you could just tell us about what Seva International specifically did in this Ukraine crisis, because again there are many organizations and TV channels which are showing Red Cross but not much of Seva International. So if you could tell us about that.
One thing that is very peculiar about Seva International, like all other RSS inspired organizations, their overhead was zero or
Right.
near zero. Now, considering the expanding work of Sewa, which has long-term projects also, slowly they started hiring volunteers at a very low cost. Even today, its cost is negligible, nearly negligible compared to the huge overheads that the very respected, very big NGOs, including Red Cross and Oxfam, etc., have. And that is something that really surprises people when they look at their balance sheets, look at their overheads. They are surprised that they are able to deliver at such a marginal cost as compared to other voluntary organizations. And since it is inspired by uh, the Indian ideas, they don't get into publicity or marketing or advertisement. They do make presentations, but to the people who wish to support. So there is not very huge advertisement campaign to show what they are doing, but they do share what they do with the people. And they also have very, very minimal voluntary force, which also has a very lowly paid, just an honorarium. And a lot of people who work free of cost. Because of this, it has been highly appreciated, because if you look at the many of the NGOs, their overheads are sometimes up to 65%. So that is very surprising for people. And coming to the work done during Ukraine crisis, again, it was typically what we call Swayam Sevak Bhavana, which is self-motivated people who simply got together. If you see the first message that came was by about, I think, 2 or 3 HSS volunteers in Europe and Ukraine, who released a statement with the numbers, with contact numbers, with basic information, and had a helpline immediately set up to ask people to call up whenever they found themselves in distress, to seek guidance, to seek support, and see to it how they can be supported in various ways. So if you look at the example, on February 26,
Mm.
150 students traveled from Vinitsa to Chenovsky by bus. I'm sorry, I don't have good understanding of the Russian names or the Ukrainian names. They were given shelter, they were given breakfast, lunch, etc., and they were then taken further to Romanian border. Just one example. And Seva International released $10,000 immediately when required. They also raised funds for those people. They had a checklist ready for the people, and wherever they could guide, they guided about 4,000 people, and 400 people are physically evacuated from the war zone. So this is that, as I said, I have told earlier in some discussions, that when you say Swayam Sevak, it means self-motivated person. So they don't need any direction from somebody. There is no board meeting, etc. People simply jump in. So HSS jumped in, and then Seva International followed to support them. And together, whatever they could do, as I said, 25 countries got involved, 300 volunteers got involved, and they prepared kits, they prepared relief material, and they helped them evacuate from the places wherever they could. And this is how they helped those people. There are videos on the internet about about girls and boys sharing the story how Sewa International helped. But that is not important. Important is that as soon as a disaster happens, as soon as a distress call comes, nobody waits for somebody else to give a direction. Nobody waits for government or private organizations or their seniors to tell them what to do. This has been the case in COVID also. If you
Yeah.
look at the Indian situation itself, I talked about USA. Same was happening in UK, in Europe, in India also. If you see our own society's tendency, that the largest number of volunteer forces, not just RSS, not just Seva, but from various organizations were on the roads risking their lives, individuals risking their lives, because our connect to the family, our connect to the society is so huge that we don't look at the government. In other places, if you look at the relief work and the problem and in detail, you find most of the places people are looking up to the government or only Red Cross, which is semi-government, to seek support. So families are hardly there. In fact, elders' home, there were more deaths because young people who are looking after elders' home could not come or did not come. Here we have people even in their own poor distress condition out to help. I've seen people living in kacha houses in Charles in what you call Jhuggi Jhopadi in Delhi. They came out on the wherever they could to help cook food, provide food to the people in distress. So helping less fortunate person as a part of the society, as a part of our philosophy that you have God in you, I have God in me. So looking at supreme being in everybody and looking at the strength of family and of the society, this is the greatest lesson which has been imbibed by people of Seva International, who may be whites, who may be blacks, who may be Indians, to support wherever they can without bothering about what government does, what others do. That is the biggest lesson. That is a takeaway one can have.
And just to be clear, that all these Swayamsevaks, as you rightly said, they were actually putting their own lives at risk when there was shelling happening,
Oh
fighting
yes,
happening.
oh yes,
And in that situation, they evacuated many people. And
yes.
again, I think it is important to mention that not just Indians, all nationalities, they helped
Yes.
everybody who needed help in that situation.
Yes, if you look at the people in India, the critics of this government making a lot of noise about what is happening on the border, nobody went there.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
went there, only media people finally ended up to do their job of reporting, which is their job. But none of the great voluntary organizations or the great critics, the great leaders who were hammering government left and right for no reason at all, because of a war zone. It was not some normal happening that people want to leave or there is some war coming and you can leave, which was also notified the government. And they were brought in. Despite this, I didn't see any Indian volunteer organization going there and setting up camp.
yeah.
So that's the difference between Seva International or HSS or RSS compared to other organizations who claim to be doing work for the society.
Yeah, absolutely. Ratanjit, thank you very much for giving us your time and giving us this information. Unfortunately, we do not have much time left, so we will have to conclude at this. But we would love to get more information about Seva International. As we all know, this crisis is not ended, and this crisis might deepen as well. So we would love to get more
Yep.
information from
Thank you.
you. Ratanjit, thank you so much.